Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. It is now time for our Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin, it's a lot of recruits still coming in for the weekends and stuff to check out this Arkansas basketball program. Who was here this past weekend and how many athletes were on campus?
Tara, it was a mega recruiting weekend in terms of visitors, most of them unofficial. Actually, all of them, excluding one. The headliner on the official visit was five-star Anthony Black, and then you had roughly 25 unofficial visitors. It was billed as Must Bus Mania, and certainly Musman doesn't need a ton of extra help creating and stirring up social media mania and excitement. But when you have that many players on campus from not only Arkansas, but other parts of the region and the country, it adds to the excitement. Of course, you've got a football game surrounding all of it. But let's start with Anthony Black. High level guy. Now, this guy was ranked outside the top 100. He's a multi sport athlete out of Texas. He was at Coppell High School last year. Now he's at Duncanville. But he got a football offer from the Razorbacks in April, and then in May he got a basketball offer from the Hoop Hogs and Eric Musselman. But then in June and July, when Arkansas coaches were able to go on the road for the first time of the year due to COVID to do live evaluations, they went and saw Anthony Black play in different events. And he continued to climb again outside the top 100 rankings, moved all the way up to five-star status. 247 Sports now ranks him as the 19th best player in the country. Wow. So he's a five-star on campus this weekend for his official visit. Got in Friday night, went to dinner as soon as he touched down in Northwest Arkansas with Arkansas coaches. Got to attend practice on Saturday. Went to the football game, and then again today we'll wrap up conclude the official visit. But, when you look at back-to-back weekends with Nick Smith Jr., another five-star guard out of North Little Rock, the previous weekend, Arkansas continues to bring in five-star recruits. Now, some of these unofficial visitors were no slouches either. 2023, Jeremiah Johnson, a 6'3" guard out of Norman, Oklahoma. 247 Sports ranks him number 16 in the country in the class of 2023. He took his unofficial visit this weekend, and that was on Saturday, of course. Got to go to practice, got to go to the game. And he told me that not only was the visit outstanding, but that he expects Arkansas coaches will be out next week in Norman to see him at practice. I really look for Arkansas to extend an offer soon. But some of the other visitors, Trent Pierce, a 6'7" wing out of Tulsa Union, a guy that's kind of a high-profile guy, starting to climb up the recruiting ladder in the class of 2023. But in-state guys, I look at Isaac Harrell, a 6'7" wing, getting Division I interest and offers out of Jonesboro High School. Jonesboro's been a power in Arkansas high school basketball, and Isaac Harrell is one of the up-and-coming players for the Hurricane. And then you look at Bentonville, just up the street from Fayetteville, Bentonville High School, Caden Miller, class of 2024, a 6'9" forward center, already has Division I offers, including in-state UCA. So several players, the Forrest cousins, Ryan and Jaden from Marion, Arkansas, also picking up Division I interest. But you had a lot of players not only from in-state, but out-of-state taking part in a big Must Bus Mania recruiting weekend. Again, Anthony Black, the five-star, was the headliner, but you had a lot of other good players there. And it only helps the program, whether Arkansas ends up offering some of these kids or a few of them or not, when the players go back to high school, go back to their friends, go back to their basketball programs and talk about that experience. It's only good promotion for Arkansas, but it also helps promote these young players as other schools look at them and recruit them as well.
Must Bus Mania might be one of my favorite new terms. I love it. And the Must Bus, they've been hitting the road as well. They've been bringing in recruits, but they've also been on the road a little bit. Where's the staff been the past couple of days?
Might be easier to answer where they haven't been, but I can tell you this. They're fanning out to the priority recruits, not only for the 2022 class, but 2023, but they really have a laser focus on 2022 and finishing that class with already three top 100 ranked players in ESPN's prospect rankings: Joseph Pinion, Darian Ford, and Barry Dunning Jr. It's a top 10 class as it sits right now. But we talk about five stars, and we've talked about some that have been on campus. Eric Musselman and his coaching staff, 4 deep, were in Central Arkansas on Thursday, not only to check out a couple of 2024 highly rated prospects that Arkansas has offered in Dallas Thomas of Little Rock Parkview and K. Hunter Boateng at Little Rock Central. Got to see those guys practice. But they also went and checked out Nick Smith Jr., the five-star, who took his official visit last weekend. It's the second time that Arkansas coaches have been out to see him in Central Arkansas. So the coaching staff was in full force on Thursday to see Nick Smith Jr., who, by the way, has told me that he shut down remaining visits he had scheduled to Oklahoma. He didn't visit Kentucky, and he's really, he's released a top four early in the week of Arkansas, Alabama, Auburn, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Tara, I mentioned it on the show last week. I'll say it again. I think it's down to Arkansas and Alabama. I think right now it's a coin toss, or toss up, however you want to phrase it, as to who wins his services. I think the official visit definitely helped Arkansas, and we're going to potentially see a decision in the next few days to the end of the month. If it goes beyond that, I'll be surprised given that he doesn't have more visits lined up. So again, Arkansas coaches in Central Arkansas, but they also fanned out to Link Academy in Missouri to visit with high priority 5-star recruit Jordan Walsh, ranked number 7 in ESPN's top 100 for class of 2022. Very versatile 6'7" wing combo forward. He took his official visit to Arkansas in late June. He had an official visit this week into Texas. I continue to believe that Arkansas is at the top of that list. How much of a lead they have, I don't know, but I do think Arkansas potentially leads for Jordan Walsh right now. We don't have a time frame on when he might announce the commitment because he's still talking about taking visits to Memphis and Kansas. But boy, that'd be a big win. And again, Arkansas coaches went and saw him at school. Then they went and did an in-home a few days later with his parents in Texas. So that's a big deal, Jordan Walsh. As you start looking at Arkansas trying to sew up some of these high-level 5-star guys, Nick Smith Jr.,
Yeah.
Jordan Walsh, and even Anthony Black, who was on campus this weekend.
Well, Kevin, back here on the Hill, I know that you've got the inside scoop for us. What have you heard about how practice has been going with the team so far?
Intense, intense, intense. And every player that was on that have been on visits the last couple of weekends, the feedback I get is how much energy there is in practice. No wasted time. They move from drill to drill quickly. It's a business-like approach, and the effort, how hard they play, and basically the communication, because everybody's on the same page. That's not easy to do when you're replacing and turning over the roster every year like Eric Musselman does. But because of that NBA pedigree, not only his, but staffers like Keith Smart, who was an NBA head coach, Clay Moser, who came to Arkansas from the Los Angeles Lakers. It is just a different vibe on the Hill than it was in previous years. We've talked about it a lot, but to continue to hear the same themes over and over again, and looking at practice, a guy like Stanley Umide, the 6'6" transfer from South Dakota, one of the top 10 or one of 9 or 10 players returning in Division I that averaged over 20 points a game last season. He's a senior. I heard he had a really good week of practice, as did most of the veterans. Devo Davis continues to play hard and make a big impact on the floor. We expect that. I think he's going to be preseason all SEC. Jalen Williams is a leader, another guy that I see, entrenched in that starting lineup. I think he's going to have a big season if he remains healthy. And get guys like Chris Likes, a DC Tony, coming from the ACC, transferring in, guys that have a lot of experience. I think they're going to have big roles on this team. But all of these guys, their names keep popping up. Trey Wade from Wichita State, Kamani Johnson, who transferred in from Little Rock and sat out the second semester last year and played for the first time as a Hog this season. All these veterans are meshing in with the young guys. And I think Arkansas, when I'm looking ahead, they might be better on paper, Tara, than they were last year. And we know that team finished top 10 in the country in the final rankings that got to the Final Four. And when you're talking about rankings now, Arkansas, just looking at the most recent, we can call them way too early rankings, but we are less than 2 months away. And some of these predictions really kind of hone in on Arkansas being a top 10, top 15 team coming into the season. I mean, I look at CBS Sports and Athlon Sports, both have Arkansas ranked 10th in their recent updates to their rankings. I look at Arkansas being ESPN has them at number 14, busting brackets at number 13. And then Joe Lenardi, who's the bracketologist for ESPN, just updated his bracketology last week for the 68 team field. And he's got Arkansas as a 4 seed, which kind of projects top 15-ish. So really, it's not going to surprise me at all based on what Arkansas has, what I've seen and heard, and the preseason polls that expectations are going to be sky high for Arkansas to potentially take it to another level next season. It's never easy to do. The SEC will be improved. A lot of good teams and players there. Sometimes when you get to the postseason, you need a little luck, different things at play. But Arkansas has a chance to build on what they did last year, not be a flash in the pan, not be an outlier, but prove that Arkansas basketball is back on a national level consistency like it was, when you go back to the 80s, late 70s, 80s, and early 90s.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to with this Arkansas basketball program as they gear up for another season under head coach Eric Musselman. Kevin McPherson, as always, thank you so much for your time and for filling us in on all the inside scoop and the information about this basketball team. We really appreciate it. But we'll be right back with more after the break.